thinking about photography in terms of being creative all the time is a trap.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Photography Radio. My name is Tomasz, and today you are listening to Beyond the Frame with Olaf Sztaba, where he challenges you to take visual risks and think differently about your photography. Honest, bold, and unapologetic. Typical Olaf. Enjoy.
Can you imagine your life without photography? No? Then you will love this show. And it doesn't matter if you're a DSLR, a mirrorless, or a mobile phone shooter. We're here to help your photography grow. This is Photography Radio.
Wow, that's the third episode. Thank you so much for your support, notes, emails. I really appreciate it. I'm really afraid today we may get in trouble. Well, as Albert Hubbard said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. Nowadays, when I meet with someone, I often ask, what do you do? And I hear, I'm creative. So I keep digging. What do you do? I'm a photographer. We all like to claim to be creative, don't we? How wonderful. Trust me, my friend, that's also my favorite activity. I also want to be creative. You know, this word has become such a mantra in the world of photography. There are podcasts, books, videos, shows, all about being creative. I get it. But sometimes I have this feeling we get it all wrong. Okay, so let me open a word dictionary and read the official definition. Okay, here it is. Relating to or involving the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work. The keywords: original ideas. Original ideas. Okay, so let's keep going. Opening a dictionary again and looking up the word original. Created directly and personally by a particular artist, not a copy or imitation. This is strange. Not a copy or imitation. I guess you know where I'm going with this. When I started in photography, I thought I'm creative. I thought everything I do is creative. It was easy breezy. However, after a while, I started studying images and trying to indeed create something new. I realized very quickly that thinking about photography in terms of being creative all the time is a trap. You know, if this word, creative, indeed retains any meaning or power in our photography, we should view creative photos. Keep in mind, by definition, something original and different. So we have to view this as something that doesn't happen often or frequently. And I noticed this in my own photography. The more I labeled my images as creative, the worse they got. Well, there's no question that we all want to be creative. However, between labeling ourselves creative and crafting creative imagery, there is a long, frustrating road. Of course, it sounds great if I said to myself, Olaf, you are going to go out on the streets of Vancouver and be creative in your photography. But how do we know that our work is creative or not? My honest answer, we don't. At least not in the initial stage. One of the first things I do when I'm back from my photography session, I look at my work and I try to be honest about it. I ask myself, did I create something new, well crafted, and most importantly, original? You can guess, most of the time my answer is no, of course not. Sure, I have some nice images, but that's exactly my point, my friend. Photography which leads to a creative image is a rare event. It doesn't happen often. If you craft a lot of creative images, then you must be a genius or a scam artist. Could be both. So, okay, we know that creativity is rare and very hard to achieve. So how do we get there? Erich Fromm said the following: conditions for creativity are to be puzzled, to concentrate, to accept conflict and tension, to be born every day, to feel a sense of self. Getting close to photography, Robert Frank described this way. The photograph must be a result of head-to-head, a confrontation with power, a force that one interrogates and questions. It doesn't sound to me easy breezy, that's for sure. And there is one more aspect in regards to the word creative, and nobody wants to talk about it. You know, creativity is not always needed or even desirable. Yes, you hear it right. Have you ever thought that creativity actually could be obstacle? Could be something that makes your life miserable? Well, let me give you one example. Recently, I started to work on the Renatus project, which is much different from my usual photography, and it involves photographing people that had a kidney transplant or any transplant and telling story about them. And I approach this project as usually I approach my regular photography. I tried to be creative, and it became a hell to me. You know, I started to take a very simple project, which should portray a person, a very simple shot, which would just capture the face of a person, which tells a lot about what a particular person went through, and I started to be creative. It absolutely destroyed the idea. But you get my point. So no, sometimes it's okay not to be creative. So creativity creates tension and pressure, and I don't want to be creative all the time. And another thing, there is a lots of risk associated with being creative. It doesn't mean we all need to do it. In fact, some of us would be better off creating your images without this push, without the risk of being creative. So why I'm sharing all of this with you? I look at everything I do as creative. If we look at everything we do as a creative, we may not be able to see new ways of seeing and new ways of approaching things. Being creative happens very rarely, and you usually realize that you crafted something creative after it happens, not before. Okay, so what's your point, Olaf? Just taking images doesn't mean we are being creative. It's very rare. Creativity needs the right conditions, and the less we label everything as creative, the easier it's going to get. Most importantly, once we recognize something as creative, it will lead us to something well crafted, and most importantly, original. Thank you for listening. Again, please go to photographyradio.com. Feel free to leave comments, notes, suggestions. And thank you so much for listening. Until next week.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hit subscribe on your podcast app. It would mean a lot for us to have you as our regular listener. Head over to photographyradio.com to drop your suggestion for future editions of Photography Radio or simply to say hello. We would absolutely love to hear from you. In the meantime, have a wonderful night and we will be back with more photography in your ears very soon.